I've got just a quick message to Marvel before we start. Could you please book your ideas up? Because this is getting worrying now. Let's get on with the video. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome back to another Lost the Plot video. I know you're probably sat there thinking, it's a big Marvel release, where are all four of them? Well, due to planning problems and other commitments, we haven't been able to sit down and talk about it. I'm going to be honest, I don't know if the other three have seen it just yet. So you are stuck with me, and this is going to be a fairly quick review of Marvel's latest release of Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. But before we get on to it, let's do a little synopsis. Ant-Man releases a book, then him and his family get sucked into the quantum realm, and there's loads of ants. This film from me gets a 5 out of 10, and depending on how this video goes, that could possibly change, because I was very underwhelmed with it, as you can probably tell by the 5 out of 10. Going into this film anyway, I was quite sceptical because I've been quite disappointed with some of the releases Marvel have put out there in the last couple of years, and I feel like this film included some of the struggles and frailties that some of the other productions have had as well. But we'll get onto that eventually. I want to start talking about the positives, because there are positives. I don't just want to sit here and slate Marvel's latest release, because I love Marvel as a franchise. It's incredible. But that doesn't stop me from being disappointed. So let's start with the positives. The first thing I want to say is that it's a fun film. I went with my dad, and he, at the end of it, said, that was enjoyable, I like that. Which to me tells me that no matter who you are, if you're an avid Marvel fan or just a basic cinema goer that's gone to enjoy something and try something new, it's enjoyable. And don't get me wrong, I did enjoy it. I'm not saying this film sucks. Or am I? But it is enjoyable. There are fun moments, and there are some funny moments. But we'll get onto that shortly. There are moments where you giggle and laugh, but not belly laugh. But yeah, it's me in a Marvel release. You can probably tell where I'm going with this. I want to say the visual effects were good on the whole. And I want to say the CGI was good on the whole. There were moments which I struggled with, and I will talk about those shortly. But I feel like they did the quantum realm quite well, and they made it look absolutely superb. I've got no issues or problems with that. And the main saving grace of this film for me is Jonathan Majors' portrayal of Kang the Conqueror. Absolutely superb. It was so compelling and so wonderful. With seeing what he did with He Who Remains in Loki, it was amazing. And I was so excited to see what he did, and he lived up to expectations. I thought he was brilliant. I loved Jonathan Majors. He's quickly becoming one of my favourite actors ever. Absolutely amazing. And they're the positives. Okay? Now, I want to talk about the things that disappointed me, because I was underwhelmed with this film as a whole. So, the first point that you can probably tell was coming a mile off as soon as I mentioned it was that there was far too much forced humour, which at times made the tone of the film quite confusing. And what Marvel have been doing recently is trying to force comedy upon you. What they used to be good at is including these one-liners and moments that were genuinely funny, then try not to go over the top. But in some recent releases, She-Hulk, and other films, Thor: Love and Thunder, sorry, not very well, they forced it upon you. And oh my God, they did it again. They've done it again. Too much. just let the scenes play out, let the moments play out. There were moments that are funny, like I've said, but it's far too forced, where you can tell that there were moments where you expected a laugh and it was just dead silence. So please, please stop. And when I talk about the tone of the film, I think because it was trying to be funny a lot of the time, sometimes the serious moments didn't feel as serious unless it was Jonathan Majors and Kang. And the acting, for me, was really hard to watch. Really hard to watch. And from a cast that included Paul Rudd, Evangeline Lilly, Michael Douglas, Michelle Pfeiffer, Catherine Newton, and Bill Murray, it was hard to watch. And I was so disappointed because it felt like some kids' media production. It didn't feel like a fully fledged Marvel production. Acting's never normally a problem. But in this film, I felt like it was. And that really, really annoys me. And let's not talk about... No, actually, let's talk about it. The storyline was far too choppy. And as a whole, the storyline was fairly compelling. It was a really interesting idea, and I liked it, but it didn't allow you to enjoy it for what it was. It didn't allow you to enjoy the storyline because it kept flitting from one moment to another far too quickly. Let us enjoy that moment. Let the storyline develop for what it is. Because now I'm sat thinking it was quite hard to keep track of. No, I'm not saying, oh my God, it's so difficult to watch. I'm saying that let those stories develop properly before moving on. Don't just flip between them for the sake of flitting between them. I found it so choppy and so disappointing. I'm expecting more. For a production like Ant-Man and The Wasp: Quantumania, I was expecting more. And before I forget, MODOK absolutely butchered him. They butchered MODOK as a character. When I saw it in the trailer, I was like, oh, okay, MODOK's going to be, this will be interesting. No, they tried to include him for comic relief and it was awful. Really, really bad. They've done that character no justice at all. And I'm going to get away from these characters and these people because I'm going to lose my head in a minute. Let's get on to the more detailed things that I noticed. So, there were moments in this film that were shot horrendously. What I found they kept doing is when people were talking and there was these longer pieces of dialogue, they would randomly have mid-shots and close-ups of the accompanying characters that really took away from what was being said. They felt so random, and because the acting was poor, it was hard to watch at times. Like, really bad. There's a moment towards the start of the film where Evangeline Lilly, Paul Rudd, and Catherine Newton are in the car. And it kept flitting between characters, like close-ups, mid-shots, and it was disgusting because most of the time it was out of focus. We couldn't focus on what was being said from Paul Rudd's character, and it really hurt my head. And there are moments like that throughout the film. You don't need these random mid-shots and close-ups. Stop it. Like, it really hurt my head. Stop it, Marvel, please. And I know I'm getting emotional. I say emotional. I'm getting irate about this because I expect more from this type of film. And especially with Marvel. I've said it at the start of the video. I'm going to say it now. I love Marvel as a franchise. It is amazing. It's offered me so much in the time of my childhood and now developing that into adulthood. It's falling off a bit and I'm worried because I want them to do more. Yeah, it was enjoyable, but ultimately the production of the film sucked, in my opinion. The storyline was far too choppy. The acting was horrendous. Forced humour, especially ruining characters like MODOK and others. I need more and I want more from Marvel. So, as I said at the very start of the video, please book your ideas up. In my opinion, Phase 5 has got off to such a sloppy start. And I'm now worried for what else comes out this year. I want Guardians of the Galaxy 3 to be good. And I hope it is, because I love James Gunn. What an amazing, amazing director. But because it's his last film and Marvel are turning into what I don't want them to turn into, I don't want it to affect how that ends up. But we'll see. And that's all from me. I'm going to stop it there. That was fairly quick. I got through as much as I possibly could, but my God, was this underwhelming. If you haven't seen it, I wouldn't worry about it. And if you have seen it, let me know what you thought down in the comments, because I've said it a million times. It was so underwhelming. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.